What's up, everybody? You're on Money Moves, and I'm Michael Munsterman. Today, we're going to talk about giving power to the right voice.
Grind, that's all I know. Find the time to good old note. No matter good or bad, still I go. I never crack under pressure, I can't be broke. Sun up to the sun down. Map it out, now run it down. Mayweather, I never lose. I be making these money moves. Sun up to the sun down. Map it out, now run it down. Mayweather, I never lose. I be making these money moves.
Today, we're talking about giving power to the voice. And what I'm talking about whenever I'm referring to power to the voice, inside of us, every single day, there's this inner struggle. There's this voice inside of our head. And typically, there's a couple of them. There's a weaker voice and then there's a stronger voice. In your stronger voice, and that voice that's inside of your mind, it's rolling all the time. Now, notice that whenever I'm talking about like the stronger voice, I'm not saying the better voice or the voice that, hey, is better for you, gives you better guidance than the one that gives you resistance and push. Because sometimes strength happens inside of whichever voice you give more power to. Now, let me explain what I mean. So a day in the life of Joe Average, right? Joe's alarm goes off. It wakes him up. He reaches over, he hits snooze 2, 3, 4 different times. Gets up 30, 45 minutes after he actually thought that it was time to roll out of bed and get going. He rushes through breakfast. He has very minimal conversation with his wife, runs out and gets in his car. He thinks, oh crap, I forgot. Runs back in, grabs something, comes back out, gets in the car, starts it up and heads to work. He's thinking about his day and the voice is just gloomy. It's like, man, it's Monday. I'm heading in. I don't really want to. The weekend's over. That sucks. I had so much fun this weekend. Why do I have to work? I don't get paid enough for what I do. This is too early. I'd rather have stayed in bed, and just on and on, this negative dialogue just rolling in his head. Nonstop, insistent in his mind. It's just constant. Through his day, he gets an opportunity. He's like, hey, I'm going to go to lunch. What do I want? Well, I don't know. You should really eat healthy. And I don't want to. I just want McDonald's. Like, I want fast, like whatever. I want my Taco Bell fix. So whatever it is, like it's a caving to a weaker voice. He gets home that night. He sits down in the chair, turns on the TV, doesn't really communicate much with anybody in his world. His wife says, how was your day? It was fine. Turns on the TV. One of the kids come down. Hey, Dad, will you study with me? Inside, he hears this voice. You really ought to probably study with her. But he's like, look, I worked hard today, and instantly starts to just talk himself out of it. And boom, before long, his day's completely over. Kids are in bed. It's late. It's 10, 11 o'clock at night. He pushes himself, stays awake way later than he should, and then starts a cycle all over again. Like, this is a story that happens all of the time. And the story is just on repeat for so many people. And you have to pick an area of your life and pick something that you're going to stand on inside of your own mind. And for a lot of people, they use the vehicle of fitness. For me, fitness is where I exercise fighting that voice. Now, here's what I mean. I literally, in every decision that I make, in every thought process that I have, I separate inside of me, there are these two separate individuals. And I visually like pull them out and set them on the couch on either side of me. And on one side of me, I'm thinking, okay, this voice over here wants the very best life for me. It's the voice that asks me to do the things that I don't really want to do. It's the voice that says, hey, you need to work out. It's the voice that says, hey, you need to go earn. It's the voice that says, hey, you were meant for more than what you're living right now today. It's that voice that pushes me to be the best version of myself. And then there's this other voice. This is the voice of laziness and complacency. This is the voice that doesn't want to get out of bed to go work out. This is the voice that doesn't want to go outside and play with the kids because we just had a long day. This is the voice that says, oh, don't try that. That'll never work. This is the voice that echoes all of that doubt and radiates all of your missteps from your past all of the time, running in your head constantly. Don't do that. No, you don't want to do that. Don't put yourself out there. What happens? What will people think of you? Like just this ongoing negative dialogue. Now, here's the problem. This voice, this negative voice, feeds on no's, and it's been being fed most of your life. For most of us, our parents are out like, right? We're little kids. We want to get into something. We want to go try something. No, don't do that. You're going to get hurt. They're trying to protect us. No, don't do that. Like that's bad. Oh, don't go over there. Don't hang out with those guys. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't. And that voice just gets stronger and stronger. It echoes in your mind. it's what's best for me, right? Every time that gets exercised, this other guy over here, the one that wants the best version of your life, gets a little weaker, gets a little bit softer. The voice gets a little bit quieter. And so what I do and what I started to do that really made the biggest impact in my ability just to recognize, hey, there's this thing that I need to do. Typically the thing that we need to do is the thing that we don't want to do. And so every time we get that rep, every time that voice says, hey, shut the TV off and go play with her or him. Every time that voice says, hey, why don't you quit doing what you're doing for yourself and go ask your wife how her day was? Every time that voice says, look, one more rep in the gym. Like, so for me, if you know me, like I'm into CrossFit. I love CrossFit. I love what it does. It pushes me. And the coaches are so great inside of, especially the CrossFit that I go to. It's CrossFit Lee Summit here in the greater Kansas City area. But the coaches inside of CrossFit, what these guys do is they are that good voice echoing in the background all the time, right? Like what I'll do, I'll just quit work. Like I'll kneel over. I'm out of breath. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do any more reps. And I'll hear, come on, Michael, pick the bar up. And I'm like, crap. And then that voice inside of me, it's like, I've been telling you, pick the bar up. You knew they were going to holler at you. So the other voice is like, no, we're tired. Like, just leave it down. Rest a little bit longer. Who cares about time? You're doing your best. Like, but there's just this constant nagging back and forth. And it happens the second we wake up. The second you wake up, you get to decide which one of those voices inside of your head you give the most power to. So this is something that I've been doing. I've been pushing the time that I wake up back 2 minutes a week. That doesn't seem like a lot, but I started at 5:40. So at 5:40 a.m., my alarm's going off. And for a couple times, like I hit it once, snooze. You get, I think on the iPhone, you get 6 or 7 minutes, or it's a weird number. Maybe it's 9. You get a weird number of snooze minutes. But I got to a point where I knew exactly how long that was, and I could do, like, it's amazing how good your time telling and math skills are when you're asleep and no other function other than how many more minutes can I sleep with the snooze. Like this guy over here has gotten really good at that math. Because like the interest isn't in doing what's right or what aligns with your goal set. The interest is in doing what's easy. And so the power that's gained inside of this conversation is the second your alarm goes off, you make a choice. I have set goals, time to get up. And every time you do that, like that's a simple one, right? You set your alarm and you don't hit snooze. I had a girl at the gym, like, and I love this community because if you go to CrossFit, it's because you really hate yourself or you love yourself enough to go, because it's just a rigorous environment. And one of my first days back, she said to me, I feel like I'm one snooze button away from being a quitter. And that's literally echoed in my mind as I've thought about my CrossFit experiences. Like when I go to get up in the morning, I think, oh, I saw the WOD last night. I'm not interested in doing that. You're one echo away, you're one snooze button away from being a quitter. Like crap. So this good voice latched onto that because it knew, hey, this is really good sound advice. And so I would hear that in my head and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to hit this snooze button, I get up. And then every week, setting that time back just a couple minutes. Right now, I'm in the teens. So I think my alarm right now is set to like 5:18 a.m. My goal for me is to get to a 4:45 wake up call. Because you can live on 5 or 6 or 7 hours of sleep easily. So for me, I want to accomplish so much in my day. There are so many things I want to accomplish before it's even time to go to the gym that I want to get all of those things done prior to. And so I set myself up for success. And I do this because ultimately all of this, everything we're talking about in the podcast, all the content that I'm putting out, it's all like the conversation is money moves with Michael Munsterman. But really, we use that title, and I've said this before, we use that title because I wanted there to be a good hook to pull people, to get them to listen. But really, the content's about gaining power over this thing between your ears, getting that voice, like feeding the correct voice. Because here's what happens. Every single time you make a decision to do the thing that's harder, the thing that you would rather not do, but you make the choice to do it anyway, something cool happens. That voice gets a little bit stronger. You give a little bit more power to the better voice inside of your head. So what happens on the exact opposing side of that? every time you choose to hit snooze on whatever the subject is, whether it's getting out of bed, whether it's going to the gym, any time in your mind you think, I'll do that later, instead of, no, do that right now, you give more power to a weaker voice inside of you. And it's so easy to control, but this is an area that people are truly broken. Like so many of us, and I'm guilty of it too. Like I wish I could sit here in front of the camera and say, look, I'm absolutely perfect. I never procrastinate. I always do what I should do right when I'm supposed to do it. It's just not fact. Like, this is just not factual at all, actually. But I recognize, and that's what the purpose of this one is, right? The purpose of this podcast, the purpose of these videos, the purpose of me going live on every platform is simple. On this particular episode, I want you to recognize that there are two voices. And every single time that you make a decision, one way or the other, you lend strength to one of the voices in your head. Now, lots of different conversations about what the voice is, where the voice comes from. At this point for this conversation, it doesn't matter what your belief system is. The fact is that every single person has this voice inside of them that's telling them what they ought to do. And there's an opposing voice inside of their head that says what they'd rather not do. And the more you cave to the rather not do voice, the weaker you get in a position of life. Like the harder it becomes to get out of bed and pursue your goals. The easier it is to slip away from seeing that clear vision of what it is that you're hunting for, what you're striving for, what you're pushing for, what you're wanting to accomplish. And with simple little steps, like this is so simple. I'm going to set my alarm and I'm going to get up. I'm going to sweat every day. Like I'm going to work out some form, whether it's a walk, whether it's a run. I don't care if it's 25 push-ups next to your bed when you get up in the morning, 25 air squats, and the same when it's time to get back in bed. Or before you turn on the TV every single day, you do 10 push-ups, 10 air squats. Like whatever your fitness level allows, whatever you feel like you need to do to accomplish the goals you have for yourself, you just have to do them. And you have to make a conscious decision to step over that weak ass voice that's telling you, hey, don't do that. Because here's what I promise you. You will not live the best version of your life if you allow that voice to rule. It just won't happen. If you really want to excel and like just stride and have people around you scratching their heads thinking, how do you do as much as you do? How are you accomplishing what you accomplish? How are you hitting the strides that you're hitting? It starts with one thing. You already have it inside of you. Your brain collects every single data point about your life. It has since the day you were born. It knows the people you know. It knows what your true skill sets are. It knows what you're capable of. It can visualize what's coming next in your life and what you can create, what you can do, what you can accomplish, who you can become. The only thing that you have to do is listen and be willing to do the steps to give that power. Because every time you say, I'm going to do that thing that I'd rather not do, or I'm going to make that decision that I'd rather not make, every single time that you do that, you get a little bit stronger. That voice gets a little bit stronger. It gets a little bit more clear. It gets easier to hear. And before you know it, you're doing the things that you thought you would never be able to do. You're accomplishing the things that you thought you'd never be able to accomplish. Physically, when you look in the mirror, you look better than you thought was possible. Financially, you start to see gains where you didn't think you could before. But 99% of the people that I run into that are suffering and they aren't accomplishing and they're not getting the things that they want, it's because they're not willing to do what the people who have it or who are getting it, who are hustling for it, they're not willing to do what those people are willing to do. Like they are the ones holding themselves back because they've adapted to this like victim mentality and they just listen to that voice. That'll never work. Like that is not something that's wired into my head. That will never work is not something that I allow myself to think ever because I just don't believe that. And I don't think it's true for anybody else either. So guys, just like shameless plug here real quick. I'm gonna leave that. Like I could just repeat this message again and again and again. And if you hear it once and you think, yeah, that might be good, listen to it again. Because I promise you, if you look at the gaps in your life and you get in front of a mirror and you just look steady on in the mirror, right at yourself, you just look like right at yourself and say, I am the problem. I have made the mistake of not doing the things that I knew I should, when I should, to accomplish what I want. And as soon as you come to that realization and you accept it, then you can start this battle of, okay, I'm going to strengthen the appropriate voice in my head because I'm going to move full force at my goals, at that vision I have for my life. I'm going to listen to this voice when it says, here's what we can do. Because what's so cool about it is when you get so settled in that you know that you can't fail. Not all the way fail, like you're going to get scraped up, right? But you can't fail. You don't care what other people think. You don't care what the naysayers are saying. You don't care. Like this other voice weakens and cowers and goes back to the darkest corner of your mind where it doesn't have a voice anymore and where you just win. But if you haven't done it yet, jump over to YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. It's just search Michael Munsterman and it pops right up for everything. Check it out. MichaelMunsterman.com. Find out what all we've got going on, what we're cooking up. Have a great rest of your day. We're out.